All right, my name is Sam. Welcome to Religion 211, Introduction to the Old Testament. I'm excited about the semester. Hope you are. If you have any questions, concerns, or comments throughout the semester, please don't hesitate to give me a call. You can do so through the Moodle Messenger, shoot me an email, or in an emergency, you can give me a phone call. Couple things, housekeeping-wise, I want to do before we get into our introduction to the Old Testament. First, please make sure you're reading the syllabus. Read the syllabus. I got it in two different forms. I got it in a Word document, so if you want to print it, I also have it in a green book icon, and you can look through it that way, kind of, subject by subject, so to speak. In addition, this is an internet course. You need to log on regularly. I would say at least 2 or 3 times a week, probably more depending on what we got going on that week. If you don't log in within like a 2-week period, I'm going to assume you've dropped the course and I'll drop you from the course. Having said that, I will send you multiple reminders, and if you are having some problems getting on the internet or you got some unforeseen circumstances, give me a call, contact me, so I know what's going on and I don't think you've just kind of left us. Also, grading-wise, that's very important to a lot of people, so I want to kind of give you a brief overview of what that is, and if you got any questions about it, again, just shoot me a message. Basically, we've got 3 categories of grades. The first one's content-based. That's going to be your quizzes and reading reports. All I want to do is make sure that you're getting a grasp of the content there. With your reading reports, I want to make sure you're kind of doing the reading as far as our text goes, as far as maybe the biblical text goes as well. Your quizzes are the same kind of thing. I just want to make sure you got an understanding of the content there that we're covering. Not only are we going to have a textbook, not only you're reading from the Bible, but there's a lot of links each week that I want you to click on. Some of those are media links, maybe something out of YouTube, or maybe like this one you've clicked on and you got me talking to you. It may be a news article. It may be an article from a magazine, whatever. But just make sure that you click on each of those links, because stuff from those links, stuff from your reading is going to be included in your quizzes, and it'll be useful in doing your reading reports as well. Quizzes work like this. Basically, you get to take the quiz twice. Now, don't do what I would assume that I may do if I was in your position. Don't take the quiz and just go through it and see what the right answers are. Two reasons for that. One, the questions shuffle, so you may or may not get the same questions, and they certainly won't be in the same order. Two, the quizzes are averaged. So your first attempt and your second attempt are average. So if you go through real quick, just see what the answers are and make a 20, and then you make 100, your average is going to be a 60 for that quiz. So that's your first group, quizzes and reading reports. Second group is your forum discussions. This is where I'm looking at your writing, and I also want to see that you can kind of make an argument, defend a position, that kind of thing. They work like this. Your forum discussions are like, I will put up a prompt, and it may include 3 or 4 different aspects. Or 3 or 4 different little topics, and I want you to address each of those. Sometimes they'll be controversial, sometimes they'll be debatable, so you got to kind of keep that in mind. But this is kind of an opportunity for us to take a topic and kind of go into it in a little bit of a deeper level and get more of just the content or surface-based understanding of what's going on. And I'll present a prompt. Our weeks are awkward. We start on a Wednesday, end on a Tuesday this semester, so keep that in mind. So on Wednesday, you'll see a prompt, okay, down at the bottom of the week. You'll see where you have assignments due. There'll be a prompt. When you click on that, you answer that prompt by a Friday or Saturday. Just read the instructions. It'll be very clear. You answer that prompt by a Friday or Saturday. Then you respond to 1 or 2 other students' prompt, depending on what the instructions are. And it'll work like this. Your prompt will be pretty much worth about 80 points. So in your initial post will be worth 80 points, and your response to a student will be worth 20 points. Now, if you've got 2 responses, it'll be like 67, 33, 33. for your 2 responses, something like that. So you got to understand that, kind of keep that in mind. The instructions may differ from week to week. Just make sure you read them. So your initial post, you're going to be graded, and then you'll be graded on how you respond to another student's post. Now your response is due by that Tuesday. Okay, so we start the week on Wednesday. I'll give you your initial prompt. You respond by Friday or Saturday, depending on what the instructions say, and then you respond to another student's post. Now these may be times where you disagree with a student's conclusion, and so you explain the point of disagreement, and then tell why you disagree. Back that up with facts and resources or references to other material in the module. So keep that in mind. And again, you can disagree without being disagreeable, and that kind of thing. But this is kind of a chance for us to kind of get into some discussion. I don't want to see as a response something like, hey, good job, I totally agree. That is not appropriate. We're looking to make sure you got a handle on what the other student said, and that either you're telling us why you agree with certain points or why you disagree with certain points, or how you saw something a little differently. Okay. Or you may want to add to something they said. Those are all acceptable responses, but hey, good job, I totally agree, not an acceptable response. Your final grade is going to be your final. Your final will include multiple choice questions. It'll include essay questions. It'll include fill in the blank, and it'll be worth 15% of your grade. Your forum discussions is worth 40 or 45%, and your quizzes and reading reports is worth 40 or 45%. Read the syllabus to find out the details on that. Again, any questions, please contact me. Now, just a brief overview of the Old Testament. Most of you probably have a Bible that looks like this or something similar. Some of you may have this Bible here, the HarperCollins Study Bible. I think that's actually on the list as far as one of the things you need to have. And some of you probably, or hopefully all of you, have this text, the Old Testament story. This is our text, what we're going to be reading out of. A lot of your quiz information will come from this text, in addition to some of the other links in each week. Now, if you're Hebrew, which that's probably not many of you, but Hebrews, they break their Bible down a little bit differently. They break their Bible down into basically 3 sections. The Hebrew Old Testament, what we call the Old Testament or the Hebrew Bible, is broken down into 3 sections. They call it the Tanakh: Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim. Now, ancient Hebrew, they didn't write vowels. So T-N-K, they would just insert the vowels when they said the word. So Tanakh is how it would come out. Torah are the first 5 books of the Bible. That's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. That's the Torah, also known as the Law of Moses or just the Law. Okay. After that, you have what's called your Nevi'im, which are the prophets. Okay. That's basically everything from Joshua to Esther, excluding there's a group of books in there called the Writings, excluding Job to Ecclesiastes. Okay, so those are the prophets. Now, the next section, or the last section in the Hebrew Bible, is the Writings, the Ketuvim. And that is that section I was telling you about, Job to Ecclesiastes. Now, in our Bible, those are kind of stuck right in the middle of the prophets. But in the Hebrew Bible, it would kind of go Torah is, the first 5 books. Your Nevi'im, which are what we call the historical books, and your big prophet books, which is everything, again, from Joshua all the way to Esther and Malachi. Okay, those are the rest of the Old Testament essentially, except for that little section called the Writings, and that would be at the end of the Hebrew Bible. Okay, I hope I didn't confuse you too much on that, but just keep that in mind. Hebrew Bible is set up a little differently. Our Bibles, or most of the Bibles you have, and if you've got this Bible or one from a Bible bookstore or something like that, They're set up a little differently. What they have is called they still have the first 5 books of the Bible first, which are the Law of Moses. We call it the Torah as well, or some scholars call it the Pentateuch, which is the Greek version of that. And that's again Genesis, Exodus, Numbers. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Then everything from Joshua to Esther. That is what you call the historical books. So Joshua to Esther is the historical books. The next section is the writings. That's or sometimes called journals. That's basically Job to Song of Solomon. Okay, Job, Psalm, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon. Those are your writings or journal. We're going to use the term writings, I think, probably more than anything. And then the last section is the prophets. Okay? Law, historical books, writings, the prophets. And the prophets are broken down into 2 sections, and they are the major prophets and the minor prophets. Now, it's not that some prophets were more important than others. It's just the size of the book that makes the distinction. The major prophets are bigger books. The minor prophets are smaller books, usually 3, 4, 5 chapters. I think there's one that's like 12 chapters, and that's one of the biggest. But the other ones, Isaiah and Jeremiah, they have like 60 and 50 some chapters. So that's why they're called major prophets. So anyway, that's kind of how the Bible's broken down. Again, the Hebrews break it down a little differently. It's ordered a little bit differently. Tanakh, Torah, Nevi'im, Ketuvim. We break it down into the law, historical books, writings, prophets. Keep that in mind. Look forward to the semester. Again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate.